So today I'm going over my November month. Yeah, my trades in November, my worst and best trades, or basically meaning like going along with my worst loss. And yeah, so for sure my worst loss in November that I feel was WORX. It's just my biggest loss and my worst because I overtraded on that ticker. And here's my screen right here, as you can see. So here, even though it's a one trade, um, it was on November 27th. November 27th. I'm using TraderView here. I didn't trade on Thursday, as you can see. And the week before that, it's basically constant losses for like a whole week. So why did I say the worst was my worst trade? I made a video on it. It was because I overtraded. I was being I held stubbornly, so forcing my trades with no ideal entries. I basically traded 5 times when my rule stated 0 to 1 times a day. If I don't see any good setups, don't trade. So my first and fifth trade was terrible. My first entry was on the downtrend. Let's see. More the mid 50s. Do I have it? I might have it on properly. Let me check. So this is my properly. I traded 509 times with 200 winners and 300 losers. Winning percentage is like 40%. Average gains $3. Right here. Yes. Here's my screen. So as you can see, my first entry was in 257. It was on a downtrend. Overall, the downtrend was still an overtrend, downtrend. My second trade was better, but I didn't take my profits, even though it made a higher low here, which I should have, um, because a higher low mean with this kind of downtrend is like a double top, so it's a signal, and then cut my losses. My third trade was a chase. My fourth trade wasn't a setup that I was aiming to actually play and cut my losses. My fifth trade was the worst. Why? Because I was being stubborn. It hit my losses, and then finally I decided to just to cut it, and it went to like 260, 260, 270. So even though it could have been a win if I held, my risk reward was terrible, and I basically broke like a bunch of my rules here. That's why I said the worst was my worst trade. What else is there? Calendar. Um, on the 16, I lost like $15 on there. You could check that out. I traded AHT and ATHE. HT, ATHE. So HT, it's still like I took an entry at 4 and 50 shares. A mistakes was, again, did not take my profits. I held all the way to to the open. I should have taken my profits here. I basically held it in morning panic. Even though it's a small panic, a better entry would be down here. Now that I look at it, a better entry would be down here. Even here would be fine. Entry down here. Over here. But a better entry would be down here. So I took a loss on the AHT here. It wasn't too bad of a trade. But I should have just cut my losses quickly. Because what I found for myself is that I'm better off if I'm trading pre-markets. I'm better off with taking a bunch of my position out before the open, and then just sell into like a tiny position for maybe a spike or a loss of morning panic and maybe an ad here. So overall, took a loss in here on the HT, and then my trade on ATHG that day. It was I entered on a heavy plateau. Yeah, I would call this a plateau. It wasn't ideal. It was downtrending too. So better entry is right here. Would have been for a double top, but still, it's a higher low setup. Another would be here in the like 280 on this dip, a higher low setup. Again, higher lows, higher lows. So overall, took losses. Didn't trade accordingly with my plan. What else was there? My $1 loss trade is Sun W. So, oh, this one. This the one that I did not take my profits. I said it was frustrating. My entry was 335 with 50 shares, risking 325. I entered B instead of C. So C will be here on an ABC. Want the DR. My goal was D65. It went to like D62. Should have taken my profits in like the D50s and D60s, but I held all the way and then basically I turned winner into a loss because it was holding up uptrend like really well, and until eventually it did not. But the good part was I, my trade wasn't I basically cut at the bottom. The good part was it later did I think it later went lower, like a flush lower. So it took a very small loss here, cutting my losses quickly. Frustrating trades because I did not take my profits when it's still winner. When it approaches my targets, would have been a nice win here. But turn my winners into a loser. Still, it's a small loss. So again, my worst trade in November was the worst. Broke a bunch of my rules. I broke a bunch of my rule. And then my first trade in worst, that was a $10 loss. DBVT for higher low setup. I might have it on properly. DBVT right here. I traded. I believe I traded twice. So my entry was on the break of the downtrend, but it's a lower low. It made a lower low, which I shouldn't have entered. Overall, I really shouldn't have entered on this trade. It was making or if I enter, cut my losses quickly because it failed to break the resistance in the 30 and the 40. And it made like a triangle in the 20s. And then cut my losses in 24. It later went lower, I think, but took a took a loss there. Wasn't too bad, but a better entry would be here and a 360 on this move, or here on this higher low. It's basically made a nice trend here. But yeah, traded a sideways action, sideways chops, and got chopped. Took a basically took a loss. DBVT. Let's check my $7 loss trade. What was it? iMac. Ah, it wasn't a good trade. Why? Because as you can see, it did not break the downtrend. Another is it didn't make an uptrend. It didn't make like a higher low uptrend, but again, it did not break the downtrend from the high to the low. And I think so the big move A is setting up well. It dropped to a low for a C setup risk. What I could have done is wait for the downtrend to crack before I actually enter. Oh well, I was wrong there. No more trade today. So basically, I did not wait for the downtrend to actually crack before I enter. And the downtrend never cracked here, and it flushed down instead. And I basically cut my losses. The loss was bigger than I would have wanted it, because for sure my risk here would have been like 208, but as you can see, I took like 15 14 cent loss, 14.50 cents, 14-cent loss here on the flush, and it went lower. So cut my losses, but bigger loss than I would have wanted. Now let's check this trade. OXRX and CTIB. Should I have traded? Was not my setup. Why? Looking at properly again. CTIB. That was the CTIB trade. Let's see. October trades. These are all my October trades. iMac, ATHE, OXRX, and CTIB. So lost $2 on CTIB. So basically, it was a trade that I should have taken my profits. Really, take my profits for a small gain, or just cut my losses on this big red candle. My entry wasn't too bad, but yeah, should have taken my profits when maybe when 270 crack, or when it hit 280. Now that I look at it, my entry wasn't too bad. But on there, it is said that a bad entry chased the bounce. Better entry was in the late 40s. It did dip back to 46, which would have been ideal for an entry, risking 243. My risk was 244. Aim for $3. Went to 280. Would have taken my profits at 8 Sunday if my entry was. So yeah, this trade, I should have taken my profits when it was moving at 280. But again, as I said at the time, I chased the bounce. As you can see, it bounced all the way from the mid 40s all the way to the 60s, and it bought at the top, and it dipped lower. So better entry would be in the mid 40s here. I chased it and suffer for it. Yeah. Now that I look at it, it wasn't too bad. At least I cut my losses at like 255 as it go lower. It did hit like the 237. And I think eventually, I think this stock eventually did turn back and went higher, but it was already like a bad risk reward there. So should have taken my profits or didn't, or not chase it. Now XRX, yeah, XRX was an okay trade. I was wrong. It was okay trade. But yeah, I was wrong there. Well, should have traded since it was on my setup. Oh yeah, it wasn't making higher low. It did make an uptrend, but then the next downtrend was just a straight flush. I basically bought on the break here. On like thinking there was gonna be like a morning panic. But I was chopped. So it wasn't too bad. At least I cut my losses here. It wasn't too bad compared to CTIB, in which I chased. Let's see, my biggest winner was on a KXIN on this month. Yes. For this one, I took my profits way too quickly. As you can see, it went all the way to $10. I took my profits way too quickly. What I did was good in that I sold into strength. But could have more profits, but took a small parts of it. That's fine. I sold into strength. That's basically it. But it's fine. Traded very conservatively. I basically left like $78 on the table. So I made a 2.4 R's, 2.4 R's on here, 2.4 times my risk, which had would have been still, which would have been fine, really. But again, it could have been a better entry. It went to the like the low eights, like 8.5, 8.6. Could have a better entry on a higher low setup. But yeah, this is fine. Like some people might disagree about selling partials or messing with your positions, like let your random run and cut your losses quickly. But I'm taking singles, so that's fine. Searching for the FTAG, 1645. So I basically traded my setup here. on Aflac here. It was an ABCD. Never hit D, but it was an ABC. I sell interest strength. I'm happy to sell interest strength, even if my profits was smaller, but I'm also reducing my risk. So yeah, took a higher higher low. But what could have been better is waiting for the downtrend here to break. Because if the downtrend didn't break, like I have a lower possibility of it turning into like an uptrend. Because it could go lower than this supports. That's basically it. Took most of my profits in the 90s, so that's like 18 cents. And then took all my profits in the 2. So that is still a fine trade. Overall was 189. Still a fine trade. Let's see. My $1 loss trade, 162. Good trade, DR80, Dread. Oh. Um. Bad trade was here. This is bad trade. This is a good trade. Good entry, bad entry. As you can see, I took most of my buying power in these trades and basically took like my remaining buying power and traded here. This is a good entry. This is a bad entry. These two were bad trades. Why? Because you can see it never breaks the downtrend. It didn't make a higher low. It made a double bottom, yes, but never break the downtrend here. The overall downtrend. It never break the overall downtrend. Bad entry. Though it was a small loss. My one trades in the fitching. SNDL. Yes. The wheat stock that went higher. I know SNDL is like the 60s to 70s, so good that I bought on the uptrend. Again, the better entry would be down here. Would have been down here. If I wasn't too scared and actually bought down here, would have been way, way better than up here. Took profits and then held for a loss. Still a good trade. But maybe could have cut it when this uptrend broke. By 96 cents. BBGI. My $12 loss on BBGI. Yeah. My entry at 22 here was good. But again, could have taken profits when at the double top. And or just caught it when 230 failed to break. And I was in the flush, so it happened. But should have like another that I should have done is just cut my losses like quickly when the uptrend, this trend line break, and save my losses. save myself from this frustration. Again here, gotta take your profits in the chews. When $2 failed to break. Took a small loss here. But SNDL was the one that make it green. So break of downtrend. A better entry will be right here instead of here. A better entry will be here. What I could have done is taking some of my profits in the 96 and then take some in the 2 instead of holding for 2 common losses. This is okay trade, but better entry will be here. And yeah. So just looking at this, SNDL would have been a nice swing trade to December. As you can see, I bought it when it was like in the 10s to 20s. Would have been a nice swing trade if, based on what I know now. But I day trade, so it was a good trade. It was a trade that I made back on my losses. What else is there? My trades on SPCB and SNDL. Oh yeah, this trade, I still remember it. I took a trade on SPCB thinking that it could go up, but because it was a bigger right here. Yeah, this is my SPCB trade. I took my losses, like I cut it very quickly because it didn't go as planned. So basically, I cut it for a small gain. It eventually went big, went all the way to like the 160. But as you can see, I would have cut my losses, even though it did make like a higher low overall here, but my risk would have been hit. And then once again, SNDLs basically took a bunch of profits. The original plan was to get a fill of 500 shares. That was the original plan. Oh, this was for the next day, the day after. Yeah, original plan was to get 500 shares failed, but I only got partial. If I actually held like a original buy position of at 48, could have got all shares filled because as you can see, it dropped lower. But I basically sold into strength, sold into like all the way, make it all the way to like 59. But I believe my average was let's see, where was my average? Okay, I didn't write it, but I believe most of my average was like in the 50s. So basically 2 cents a share. And here is also fine too, because I bought it on the uptrend, so in a higher low. So yeah, that's fine. But overall, I play very conservative here. Very conservatively. That's what I've been finding on a bunch of my winners. Conservative trade. There's nothing wrong with it, except that I need to be impatient with my losers. Don't be patient with losers. Need to be impatient with it. Cut my losses quickly so that I don't get into those panic panic flushes. But yeah, and yeah, my overall my profits for November was $20. Made $20 in November. Small gains, very small gains. It was going back and forth, but yeah, s- some of our losers were bigger than a bunch of my winners, especially on this trade on worse $21. And yeah, overall my trade in November could have been better. Could have. My trade on December. Let's watch SNDL here. I got caught in the morning panic. It was that yeah, I got caught in the morning panic on SNDL. Let's see now. I don't think yeah, it doesn't show here. Right here, this one right here. As you can see, I got caught in the morning panic. I bought pre-markets with 200 shares at 91, and then I basically saw it at the bottom, dead bottom, 79. It eventually came back up, and would have been a very nice buy in the 80 here, a higher low setup here. But I got caught in the morning panic and took my losses for it. And it was this trade that made me realize that if I was in pre-markets, I have to take a bunch most of my shares out after before the open, just to save myself from a morning panic. Because a morning panic could happen. It could also spike back up, but still, this was running like 2 or 3 days in a row. And that was a mistake. It was a multi-day mover. It went all the way to 98 and it came back now. Pre-markets and after hour in pre-markets. But yeah, it was already up so high. People are bound to take profits. So it happened and I took a loss on it. It traded like 1 billion shares here. So overall, I learned something about here. If I'm trading pre-markets, I have to take a bunch of my shares out before they open, just to have a tiny shares to take advantage of maybe that quick spike. And if it did like a morning panic, I wouldn't be too panicking. I would panic to me. I wouldn't panic as much. So and the two trades before weren't that good of a trade. Took my losses here, and my buy at 92 was a chase. Even though it's a higher low, it was a chase. Basically, cut my losses quickly. Took what happened here was basically break even on these two trades. And it was mostly this trade, this morning panic trade that maybe took my biggest loss in one trade in months. In one trade, I took like my biggest loss due to a morning panic. But like react to it. Um, what was it? React to it. Another was um, be patient and wait for it to happen, and then take advantage of it. Like by what I mean by taking advantage of it is this higher low or just this dead bottom, because it went all the way to 95. So it's basically a 10 to 20% gains on this whole move right here before it actually came down. So on this whole move was 10 to 20%, which would have been phenomenal. It was a nice morning panic. And overall, that's my trades for November and the first day of December. Yeah, the first day of December was my biggest loss in months. Uh, yeah, December was my biggest loss, and right now I make like 3 wins on the first couple of days of December. So this week I'm green like $60, but have to trade like very careful for Monday, because Monday is like FOMO. A lot of people are like reading the news over the weekends, and wait for that morning panic, wait for that higher low setup to actually enter on the trend and take my profits along the way, sell into strength. I'm not patient enough to actually um like all in at the top or all in at a certain area, but sell into strength, cut my losses quickly, react to the trades, and yeah, just taking singles, and be patient and be more disciplined. So that's basically it. Yeah, and that'll be all.